because a lot of the time life is just about cycles. Sometimes it'll come back to you if it's meant to come back to you, but if it's not, that's okay. Usually you replace it with something even better because you have grown as a person. How to figure out if you're doing the right thing in your life. So this is a very simple method that I personally use. Of course, there will be some people who disagree with this, but I personally use this in my day-to-day life. When it comes to like certain periods of my life, I sit back and I reflect and I try to decide, am I doing the right thing for myself right now? Am I doing the right thing for myself like long term? This is one method that I use. For example, if I decide that I'm going to take my entire day to work on something, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. If I sit down at my desk, like I'm sitting down at my desk right now, and I start to work on that thing, or I start to think about working on that thing, and just the idea of it, or like the beginning of doing it makes me feel like it's gonna drag on forever if I'm not excited about it, then I kind of sit back and I think, is this what I should be doing right now? And it's not just because of how I feel, but it's because of the result of like what I know is gonna happen if I actually force myself to do it. So the first part of this is, if you think that you should be doing something either like right in this moment or just long term, whether it's like for school or for work, like deciding what degree you're gonna go for, you know, big things like that, or just small things like tasks on a day-to-day basis. If you think about it and it doesn't excite you, you're not getting like those points in your head like, okay, it's gonna go this way, then this is the next step, this is the next step. If you can't clearly see how it's gonna happen and you're not feeling that motivation inside of you to make that happen, then that emotion is like the first sign that maybe this isn't what you should be doing. And I say that because if it's on a big scale, like deciding what you're going to do for your degree or what you're going to do for work long term, then think about how you'll feel a couple months down the line or a couple years down the line, and think about the type of toll that's going to take on you mentally, emotionally, and then just ask yourself, is that worth it? And a lot of the time, if you don't really feel it in your heart that you want to do that, then you have to ask yourself, what am I doing it for? Or who's convincing me that this is the route I should be taking? Even like on a day-to-day basis, if you're feeling like you should be doing X task today, so it might be, I need to go for a jog today, but you're like, I'm not really feeling excited about going for a jog today. It's like, well, maybe you're not the jogging type. So what other, cardio exercise or what other type of exercise should you be doing? And who are you listening to that's making you think that jogging is the exercise that you need to be doing? So that's the first part of it. Just emotionally, if that thing is not the thing that you feel that you would like to do right now or long term, then ask yourself why and try to maybe decide, is it worth it? Is it going to be worth it long term? But that's the first part. The second part is, and this is especially for a like short term, whether it's like a day to day or week to week, is just, if I'm not physically feeling or emotionally feeling excited and ready to do this thing, then it's like, how much effort is it going to take me to get through this? And is that worth it? Am I wasting time? So if you're thinking, maybe I should try out this business venture, or maybe I should do this internship, if you feel like the lack of excitement is going to make this a longer process than it actually should be, like if I'm sitting down and I'm like, I need to write this today, if I feel like writing that should only take an hour, but because I don't feel like doing it, it's going to take me 3 hours, then it's kind of like I'm setting myself up to waste time. Does that make sense? So if I feel like I'm going to waste time doing a certain activity or, go do a certain venture for a while, then I might as well choose something else and get that out the way because I love it, I enjoy it, I'm going to do it quickly, I'm going to do it properly, and I'm not going to waste time. And then maybe I might come around to this other task and a moment that I actually feel like doing it, or I might actually decide that, well, I didn't feel like doing that in the first place, and then I figured out why. Like, it wasn't for me emotionally, it was gonna bring me down, I didn't think through it enough. And sometimes your subconscious can kind of tell you like, yeah, this isn't worth it, but you can't really see it in the moment, but your subconscious is like, I'm not really feeling this, it seems like it probably won't be worth it, I won't enjoy it, like I'm just gonna drag this on. If you're feeling like that, then think of some other tasks that you can do, or think of a different route that you can take in your life, and then work on that. Like, don't force yourself to work on some stuff that you're not interested in and you're just gonna feel like it's gonna waste your time. A lot of people can feel this way about college. So if you've been watching me for a while, or if you watched my video about not finishing college, then you'll kind of understand where I'm about to go with this. For me personally, when I was trying to finish up school, it was really taking a toll on my emotional well-being. And every time I was in class or every time I was doing schoolwork, I was thinking about doing what I wanted to do, which was what I do now. And part of that is creating content for you guys. So as you can tell, I'm enjoying this. I enjoy doing what I do. And I think back on when I was in college, and at like my first year, I was really having a good time because I was proving to myself that I could be really good in school. And I was really good in school. Like, I'm pretty smart. I know how to lock in when I need to lock in. But after that first year, I just wasn't feeling it. And it's because I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. I wasn't taking the path that I knew would get me to where I want to be. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And sometimes it's because they're going for a degree that doesn't really interest them, or sometimes it's because they realize that school is going to lead to a degree, and a degree is going to lead to a job, and maybe they really don't want to work a job. So, you know, at that point, you're seeing the long-term result of what you're doing now, and it's not exciting, and you feel like time is just going on slowly. You're just doing the work, and it's dragging on, and you feel like you could be doing something else with your time. And that's what school was for me. I decided to stop that and get the ball rolling on what I love to do now. And I'm glad that I did, because all that time that I was taking and using for classwork and being in class was taking up all the time that I used to learn, practice, try new things in content creation, business, real estate, all kinds of things. And, you know, I'm glad I took that time out and did what I wanted to do, because I feel like I would have just set myself back if I continued through school. Like, but that's just another example. And lastly, if you are working on something, or you're thinking about working on something and you can't find the motivation to do it, or it's not feeling exciting to you, but usually it does, then it's okay as well. Because when I think about it and when I reflect on my life and the way that things have gone throughout my life, I realize that life is really about cycles. You might be really into something in one period of your life. It could be like 2, 3 months, 4 months, or even longer. That time will go by, and then you're super unmotivated to even think about that thing. You haven't even touched that thing in weeks, and you're like, why can't I get back on, you know, my grind? Why can't I get back into my hobby? Why am I not focused and excited about this thing? And a lot of people can feel bad about that, but it's okay. Usually that's a sign that you're growing, you're realizing something wasn't for you, or it can be a sign that your mind is like, okay, you know, that was important back then, but this is important right now. And sometimes you actually come back to that thing that you lost interest in. And that happened to me with photography. So I started shooting when I was about 9, and then, you know, I was into it for a few years, and then I stopped completely. I stopped shooting completely, even though I had, like, you know, nice camera setup and all accessories and stuff. And then 2019, 2020 came around, and I got really into it again, like heavily. After that point, it kind of died down again for like a year or two. And then right now, I'm actually back into photography. Like, I need to restart this as a hobby. Like, I actually really do love shooting photography. So, you know, I've been going out and shooting people and places and things like that. Don't beat yourself up for not being interested or not loving something that you were really interested and motivated in before, because a lot of the time life is just about cycles. Sometimes it'll come back to you if it's meant to come back to you, but if it's not, that's okay. Usually you replace it with something even better, because you have grown as a person. But I wanted to share that with you guys, because as young people and just as people in general, it can be really difficult to understand if you're doing the right thing in your life, and you can feel really bad when you feel like you're not motivated to do what you're supposed to do. So I hope that helps, and I'll catch y'all in the next video. All right, bye.